Welcome to Visceral Review. Here I review movies based on what it made me feel. There are plenty of other channels where they deconstruct movies explaining the main theme and interesting details. I love that very much. However, what I like to do is immerse myself fully into the movie and share my thoughts on the visceral feeling it gave me. So, without any further ado, let's get into the review. And there will be spoilers. The big battle for the fate of the world. This was supposed to be the culmination of all the previous seasons, as we are informed of this imminent threat of the Long Night and the White Walkers from the very first scene of the very first episode. I remember when I was first watching the Game of Thrones, I felt like the White Walkers were this threat that'll throw the whole realm of humanity into chaos. And I was thinking, what would all these characters feel like when they realize that these squabbles and wars they are waging with each other is nothing short of senseless in face of this impending, immense doom that's coming for them. White Walkers, in a sense, were always a plot device, as many other reviewers have put it, but they were this magical mystery that we and all the characters in the world of Game of Thrones knew very little about. And that was very frightening, because the enemy was so terrorizing without uttering a single word. And all the small details we found out throughout the whole series gave us this sense of wonder, of discovery. And at the end, they are supposed to give the whole story, connect all the small dots we were given throughout the series, and show us the whole picture of their origin and motive. But we got nothing. My only reaction was, that's it? I have not read the books, but through a lot of amazing reviewers who explained everything in depth about the books, it was very clear that the White Walkers had a greater purpose and have been bidding their plan and everything through thousands of years. And all the subtle symbolisms and events, I think it is very clear they are supposed to convey much more than this. All these interesting mysteries are still left unanswered. It is very clear that George R.R. Martin is not on board with the film directors anymore, and I think he is quite sad that they made the series this shell of its former self. But because he doesn't want to step on their work and put it down, I think he's just keeping quiet and going with it, because he knows the inner workings of a TV show. It is a collective work of a lot of people, so out of respect to all the others who worked hard, he's restraining himself. That's what I feel like is happening right now. The battle plan was flat out stupid. I was quite disappointed when they killed off the Dothraki in that stupid manner. It was very frustrating for me, especially because the Dothraki was supposed to be inspired by Mongolian warriors in Mongolian history and Native Americans. And as a Mongolian myself, I always wanted to see more of them in the show. I may be biased in this part, but I think there were a lot of other people who wanted to see more inner workings and the perspective of the Dothraki. They were supposed to be these great warriors that made everyone tremble with fear. The only thing stopping them from being a real threat to the Seven Kingdoms was the narrow sea. Just like Mongolians, the Dothraki were so great at warfare and conquering, mostly due to their ingenious battle tactics. I know the enemy is supposed to be the death itself, right? So all the armies were having difficult time fighting them is a given. But sending the Dothraki to their doom in such an idiotic way was almost insulting for me. And I know almost everyone and their mums are saying this, but the most interesting thing about Game of Thrones is that all of the actions have serious, real-life repercussions. We were so used to over-the-top action movies where the main characters will survive everything thrown at them. No. But here, it was not like that. That's why this show was like a cold water in your face. It was refreshing, stimulating, and gave us this feeling of no character is safe. But here, I can't remember how many main characters were swarmed by the whites, those zombies, and you think, oh, they're dead. And it's just fine. When I recall this episode, I just see an image of Brienne screaming in pain and being hugged by a bunch of whites who were not stabbing or trying to kill her. Maybe they were just tickling her to death. I didn't get the point. So in the end, they butchered all of these interesting plot lines and did not explain us about the White Walkers. Okay, fine. Let the Dothraki become mindless slaves of Daenerys and charge into the darkness and die off. Okay, fine. Made a stupid battle plan just for the sake of dramatic effect. Alright, fine. Take away the realism of the series. Fine. After all this, if what they were trying to make was just an over-the-top huge battle that left everyone in awe, I'm just so sorry to say that they failed, because it was just too freaking dark, and it was very anticlimactic. Lyanna Mormont was the most touching death for me, because she was this badass head of the Mormont family, and in the end, she was not only talk, she proved she was badass to her core. Arya's suspense parts were entertaining to watch. Some of these secondary characters like Jorah Mormont and Theon received a well-deserved send-off. After their struggling past throughout the series, that was satisfying to watch. However, why it still doesn't feel right is that this was supposed to be the shining moment of the main characters. Throughout the series, we were given massive hints that Jon or Daenerys will be the chosen hero to save the realm, but they ended up not doing much. So what I'm trying to say is, if they had sacrificed all of these important aspects of the show to make it an epic battle that we really enjoyed, then at least I would have been somewhat satisfied. But it just wasn't that entertaining. And I've seen an article where they were boasting that it was longest war sequence, even topping the Helm's Deep battle in Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry, what? I also love this show of Game of Thrones. Out of respect to it, I did not want to compare it to Lord of the Rings. But not only they compared themselves to it, but boasted that they were even better. Season 8 is not over. I still hope they will surprise us and maybe they'll have addressed some of the problems that I have mentioned here. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt to them, but so far, to be honest, I can only say I'm disappointed.